I'm Autumn,
And I'm Laura,
and together we're
the
the
Boo
Boo Sisters.
Sisters.
Hello, Boo Crew.
Welcome to October and 2 weeks before Halloween-ish.
Yeah, so it's not technically welcome to October. By the time everyone listens to this, we'll already be in it.
Okay,
Like,
welcome to the middle of October. It's even more October-y than October was before.
guess what? We have our Halloween decorations up. And I know that's not surprising to everyone listening because it's October, but we're recording this in September and everyone thinks we're weird because it's the beginning of September and we've already decorated for Halloween out there.
I want to know what decorations you have up. Are you one of those like inflatable Halloween people that are like inflatable cartoon characters
You know what?
or giant
Every
skeletons?
I wish if I had the money for a giant skeleton, I would get one of those giant 12-foot skeletons and then I would get that dog that stands next to it. Have you seen it? That's like
No, I
6 feet.
haven't.
It's so cute. There is one in the neighborhood. I should take a picture of it and send it to you.
Okay, so if there's one in the neighborhood, that means that other of your neighbors are just as crazy as you are for putting Halloween up early.
Okay, that's true. It's technically not in our neighborhood. It's a neighborhood over, but I guess that counts.
That
But
still
listen,
counts.
if you have a giant 12-foot skeleton, you are not just going to put it up for the month of October, okay?
Right.
You're going to like put it up in September, have it through Halloween. Then in November, you're going to get an inflatable turkey leg and put it in the skeleton's hand. And then you're going to put a football jersey on it in January. Like, and it's going to be like hanging Christmas lights on the roof in December. Like this
I
is how
actually
it's going
have
to be.
seen that. There's a
I
person
know.
I think that lives nearby me that I've seen that from.
Right. Because you take all that time
Hmm.
putting up the giant skeleton. Also, I don't have room to store a giant skeleton in my house.
I
It's
was
going
gonna
to
ask,
be,
where do people put
right.
those?
That's why you're going to leave it up for half the year because there's nowhere else to put it except for in your yard.
Even if you dismantle it, wouldn't it still be like the size of a car in your garage?
I think so. I think your car lives on the street for your giant skeleton, and that's okay. I would do that.
Imagine you have a storage unit just for your giant skeleton. And like it ends up on Storage Wars and they open it up and it's just all these huge
Just the
bones.
skeletons, and they're like, what happened here? You also got like the insulated air conditioned storage unit for it.
Right, right.
Yep, that would be me. Because
Even
those bones are brittle.
but
They'll like,
they're supposed to be weather like impervious because they're going outside.
but they're not. They're still plastic. At some point,
Well, at some point everything wears down,
it's gonna weather.
even the worst plastics.
Yeah. So that was a fun conversation, but that was not actually what we were going to talk about today at the beginning of our episode.
So I want to talk about perhaps a couple things, but I first want to talk about this was an incident that I was having a nightmare.
Okay.
You're like, this is throwing me through a loop because we
Yeah.
didn't talk about this. And as most of my nightmares are pretty bizarre and horrible, and I won't go into details because the mind is a dangerous thing.
Ugh.
And I woke up and decided to get up out of bed and to go use the bathroom. In the nighttime, the bangs come out of the scrunchie and mess with my face and touch my face. And in this particular instance, I was going to the restroom and I feel my bangs escape my ponytail and come and touch the side of my face. And I kind of like, brush it back with my hand, just like I normally would. Don't have my contacts in, not really thinking about it. Well, again, they do the same thing just a couple seconds later as I'm walking in the hallway. And I go to brush it back again, thinking, why does it keep doing this? Well, it ends up that my fingers touch something quite furry.
Oh no.
And I realize as I'm pushing with my fingers against my face that this thing is an eight-legged little beast.
Oh no.
So you have yourself a pretty sizable spider that was crawling across my face, like near the corner of my mouth.
Oh my gosh.
And I flick it. So it attaches to my fingers, and I see this out of the corner of my eye that it is not, in fact, my bangs. And so I flick my hand down immediately because that's your response that any normal person would have is just to get it off of you. And
Eek.
I flick it and I don't know where it went. And at first, I swear to you, it jumped onto my shirt. Then I was brushing myself off desperately, doing this like
Uh,
crazy dance, like whapping myself with my hands in in the living room, like just going crazy. And my dog, my little dog, thinks I'm going crazy, and she's around me. And now I'm thinking to myself, my little
oh, it's
brown,
like
dark brown dog
hiding in her.
maybe jump down onto her. So then I go down and I'm like wiping her off with my hands and flicking and stuff, like
Uh,
just to make sure it didn't jump on her. I search for the spider thinking I'm not going to be able to sleep if I don't know that this wasn't on myself. So
Eek.
after removing my clothes and putting them back on after I check that it's not on me and not on my clothes, not on Abby, I finally like start looking around the room that I'm in. And I'm shaking things off, thinking it will jump off of something maybe. And at long last, there's this, let's just call it a backpack. There's this backpack in
Okay,
the,
I thought you were gonna say, for some reason, my mind was like, at long last, there was this shriek, and it was coming from the spider itself. Like, I don't know why my mind thought that, but I'm just thinking it's so big, it like has a voice to it.
it was huge. So I shake off this backpack, this satchel, and it jumps off and it's scurrying across the floor. And this thing is like the size of a quarter. I'm not even kidding you. So then I didn't have anything on me to kill it. So of course I'm slamming this backpack satchel onto the ground, desperately trying to kill it. I swear my neighbors probably hate me from just that. but
Oh gosh.
but I
They like
couldn't
come
sleep.
upstairs. They come upstairs and they're like, "What's happening?" And you're like, "Sorry, there was a bug."
I had to murder something. Yeah. And then I
Uh,
couldn't get back to sleep after that. So that's my creepy bug story intro to a question then. What are your thoughts and feelings toward when people associate bugs and hauntings with like darker demonic entities? I've heard about a overabundance of flies being something that is a sign of demonic
mm,
presence. In Harry Potter, the classic is that the spiders are scurrying away, like away from the evil in Hogwarts. So I'm just wondering what's your take on that? And have you heard any crazy bug stories with actual investigators and investigating?
huh, that's a good question. I have not thought about that question before. Not having like an actual story in front of me where that's happening in general, I feel like it's more likely than not something natural, something scientific is happening, which, as we all know, science can relate to the paranormal. So I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
it's not. Like maybe we find out that swarms of flies migrate to electromagnetic activity, like that's science, but also could be paranormal. So I think that's actually interesting. If someone's a scientist and listening to this, someone should go into like studying bugs related
Mm-hmm.
to what we already know about the paranormal. That's a really interesting question. I do think that bugs can have a paranormal or spiritual meaning in dreams. Does that count?
What if you wake up from a dream with one on your face?
I have no idea what that means. That's just gross because it was probably trying to put its little paws in your mouth.
I know, or climb in and be
Oh
eaten or
gosh,
something.
its furry little paws. It just wanted to like, it's like,
Doesn't have
oh, this
paws.
is like a great spa for my like little feet. This moist, wet mouth. Oh my gosh, that really freaks me out. Was it like a wolf spider or what?
No, I think it was just an orb weaver spider. They're pretty common here, but they get fairly big.
Yeah, we have them here too. Oh
So,
gosh.
my take on bugs in the paranormal is kind of like yours, that there could be an association, a correlation between the paranormal and bugs, but I don't necessarily make the connection with demonic or evil. because I think that there's foundation of that in the Bible, just like with snakes, right? That there's this association with evil.
Well, not only the Bible, but so many cultures, right? Like
Right.
Egyptians and scarabs, like there was some kind of
Mm-hmm.
spiritual belief between that. And I am not a scholar on any culture, but I know
Or
that there's,
bugs.
right, or bugs, but you know that there's a connection between cultures and different bugs.
Again, just like with snakes or with any creature that you associate kind of in a more negative way. Like think of bats and how bad of a rap that bats get. And most
Right.
of them don't drink blood. That's just a
Most
myth.
of them. And most of them aren't vampires. So,
Some of them are super adorable and just love fruit. Actually, a lot of bat species really enjoy eating your mosquitoes. So if you have a mosquito problem, I highly recommend that you build a bat house in your backyard. And yes, you can build a bat house, look it up online, and it's a natural way to get rid of a mosquito problem.
that's a wrap on your zoology podcast. Thank you for joining
Entomologists,
us. Thank you for joining us on this. What would we name it? Not Boo Sisters. It would be Zoo
zoo
Sisters.
sisters. And then
Um,
instead of our sign offs, like all these animal noises that we make.
instead of the music, it's like "Meow, rawr, meow." Oh gosh. Okay.
So, Autumn, a little birdie told me that you tried pumpkin spice latte.
Okay, guys. As an update to our past conversation, I did try pumpkin spice latte. I video called Laura and she was freaked out.
Okay,
She's like,
I'm the little birdie.
Why is my sister video calling me? Because A, we usually always text each other, and B, we never video call each other."
Hmm. But definitely
So,
not in the middle of a work
right.
day.
And she's like, "What? What are you calling me for on video, you weirdo?" And I like was like, "I got a pumpkin spice latte and I just thought you'd want to see my face as I drink it." So, I drank it and it was not bad. It's not my favorite Starbucks drink, but it did
Hmm.
not taste like a candle. So,
Yes.
I did get it hot
And what did I
and
say to get it? You did not follow my
cold,
instruction. I said to
cold,
get it iced.
iced,
Yes.
and you said blonde. So I still have to
Hmm.
get it iced and blonde. And I am going to try to make an effort maybe to do that tomorrow. That sounds actually good to try out. We're going apple picking tomorrow. So
Mm,
me
perfect
and
time.
me and Ainsley. So I feel like it could be a good road snack. And I'll let you know.
So this will be like the third the third update
Like
on the
the
pumpkin spice
pumpkin
latte.
spice. It's a pumpkin spice saga. Anyway, if anyone wants my opinion, I would say it's worth trying so far. We'll get it Laura's way and then I will have another update. So, Laura, I
Hmm.
think you go first this week.
I am happy to go first.
Before we dive into our stories, though, Laura, I did want to give a big shout out to another Boo Crew member that recently joined, Katie G.
Yay!
Yay! Katie, thanks for joining and being part of our official brew crew.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And just as a quick reminder, we do have a special creepy holiday Krampus surprise for our brew crew members if you sign up before Halloween. So you have a couple of weeks left. It's as little as $3 a month just to support this podcast, and we would be so thankful.
Yeah, plus we have a whole bunch of extras in there. Even right now, so far, there are polls that you can take part in. There are extra little videos where we talk about things going on in the haunted news in the world, and you can join the conversation of those. And we do a little campfire Q&A for certain members every
Yep,
second Tuesday.
second Tuesday. So join us.
One of us, one of us.
And if you can't do that right now, we completely understand. We're just starting out. So just hitting those subscribe buttons on whatever you follow us on is just as important. So thank you. So this week we are doing places of booze because it was the topic voted on by our Patreon members.
Yep,
So
you voted. You like booze.
here we go.
My haunting is the Kings Tavern in Natchez, Mississippi.
Okay, I have never heard of anything in Mississippi.
That's not true. And I'll tell you why here in about 2 seconds. You're going to change your mind and you're going to be like,
Okay.
what? I
Okay.
guarantee it.
Okay.
Natchez, Mississippi was first settled by the French in 1716 and is a key element of the Old Southwest because it is one of the oldest settlements on the Mississippi River and therefore also one of the most haunted. And while I'm going to be talking mostly about King's Tavern today, it is definitely not the only building to be haunted in Natchez. In fact, the Monmouth Plantation has been named one of the South's most haunted hotels, and another iconic Natchez antebellum home, Stanton Hall, was the inspiration and model for Disney's Haunted Mansion.
What?
I know. And I thought I had to definitely bring that to your
Wait,
attention
do
because you
you
might want
know
to talk about it in a different episode.
do you know what haunted mansion? Because the Disneyland and the Disney World are different, even
Oh,
from the
that's
international
too much
ones.
information for
I
me.
know. Well, I'm a Disney fanatic, if everyone didn't know already. So now I'm gonna have to look it up and see which one
Is
it is, because they're
there
completely
one
different.
that's more original?
You know, one is more antebellum, like New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
and one is more pioneery.
Okay, so
So,
I would guarantee this is probably the more New Orleans-y. So it was an antebellum Southern style home with
okay.
pillars and things. And Natchez, Mississippi is on the trail, like huge roads leading to New Orleans.
Okay, it must be the original.
So Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. Haha.
Okay, great. Got to
Glad
figure
we
it out.
figured that out. So, in a future episode, Autumn will probably do an episode on that. In the 1760s, during a time before steamboats, when flatboat merchants would ride downriver to deliver their goods to New Orleans, flatboats had no way of returning upriver, so the merchants would often sell absolutely everything, down to the very wood from their boats, before traveling back on land. Isn't that
Mm,
crazy?
yeah, I've heard of this in the Klondike Gold Rush. People would make it like a one-way trip basically, and they would make
Mm-hmm.
boats enough to get across or up north, but then they would use the boat for like firewood and
Yeah.
building a
Isn't
house.
that
Yeah,
that's so interesting to me?
it was a time where you didn't waste anything. That's for sure.
So, that being stated, Natchez, Mississippi was often the final destination for merchants such as this, a place to celebrate the success of business before finding a horse or a ride on land back to the north for another round of sales. It was from the wood of merchant flatboats that the design for a new building came to be in a desolate dead end along the Mississippi River. In 1789, an entrepreneur by the name of Richard King saw the need for a rest stop, and his namesake was born. He bought the land from his brother, and in the years that followed, built the structure. King's Tavern operated as a stage stop, a mail station, and a tavern for many years. However, Natchez wasn't just a dead end for merchants. It was also a crossroads for various old Native American trails that had become a system of inconspicuous, unmonitored travel for the likes of outlaws and bandits. And it wasn't just the merchants who needed a stiff drink at the end of a long day. Outlaws, too, needed a place to rest and celebrate their outlandish deeds, perhaps even a place to operate business meetings or gamble on a few hands of cards. Among the regular clientele of King's Tavern were the notorious Hart brothers. It was as close to a home for them as any place would ever be. As terrible as they were, they supposedly intimidated the tavern owners into offering them deals on drinks and rooms, and even into keeping rooms reserved for them to come back to and hide out in at a moment's notice.
Interesting. It sounds like that place in Star Wars where all the gamblers and ruffians hang out.
Oh, I feel like there are multiple of those now.
It's in the first one. And by first one, I mean the fourth one. They go into town, and what's his name? Ben Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi is like, oh, this is the town full of.
Okay, so Moss Isley.
Yes, Mos
Okay.
Eisley.
Well,
Okay.
it is our place of booze episode, so the Moss Isley Cantina would make a lot of sense. It was
Okay.
basically the Moss Isley Cantina. You're right.
Great. So I'm glad we got that figured out. People are
Okay.
probably yelling at their podcast right
They're
now,
like,
like,
it's this.
Mos Eisley.
Have you heard of the Hart brothers before?
No.
Okay. Well, that's fine because they weren't great people.
Great. I want run in the right circles then.
Yes, exactly. And this is why. So, unlike other outlaws, they didn't have their sights set on wealth or fame. Instead, they were motivated by ravenous bloodlust, spreading terror throughout Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. In one well known and horrible story, one of the Hart brothers even killed a newborn baby in the streets. After a long night with a baby crying nonstop and thin walls, the story goes that Wiley Harp grabbed the baby away from its mother and threw it to the ground, killing it instantly.
That might be the hardest story I've had to hear on this podcast.
Yeah, I don't like anything having to do with hurting young children or animals.
Well, we're going to have both of those in this episode. You've been
No.
warned.
Okay, we're done. Episode over.
Trigger warning.
In one version of the story, it even says that the baby was supposedly the Hart brother.
What? Okay.
But either way, it establishes just how bad these guys are.
Right. They don't care about anything.
So the older of the two, Sam Harp, was hunted down and eventually beheaded in 1799 for his crimes. But that wasn't the end of the Harp name. The younger brother, Wiley Harp, joined the Sam Mason gang, a group equally as terrifying, if not more so, than the Hart brothers themselves. Sam Mason himself was quite possibly one of the first American serial killers. He was known to write messages in the blood of his victims, going so far as to sign his name, which he signed his name as Sam of the Woods, in the gore that he had created.
That's horrifying.
He just took pride in the murders that he committed. It was no surprise then, in 1803, the governor offered a reward for Mason. Seeing an opportunity, Wiley Harp and fellow gang member James May betrayed Mason. They cut off his head and presented it to the governor. Unfortunately, a man in the crowd recognized Wiley as he did this, and he was immediately arrested, convicted, and sentenced to death himself. It is believed by many that the ghosts of these outlaws still return to visit their favorite haunt, aka King's Tavern, to this day. Visitors report seeing the apparition of a menacing red-headed man wearing a top hat who will stand on the edges of the room and leer at you. Others have claimed to feel shoved by unseen hands, especially when going down the stairs into the basement. And women especially say that they feel targeted by what feels like light touches and hard tugs on their hair. Could this be the ghost of Sam Mason, or perhaps the younger Hart brother looking for their next victim? I don't know.
Yeah, that's really scary. I don't like ghosts of serial killers.
Definitely not. And on another note, the story that I told you about the baby, some people claim that that story happened near or at King's Tavern. And in other versions, it happened even a whole state away in Kentucky. So that could have
been
happened
right there
at the tavern itself. And to that end, witnesses have heard a baby crying in the tavern. And then when they seek out if there are any children or anybody there, they can't find where the sound's coming from. So that raises suspicions that the sound could be the wails of the baby who died tragically at the hands of the Hart brother.
Ugh, that's so sad. We never want to think of babies or children that are, stuck or lost on this other plane that we don't understand yet, right?
I think that would be more of a residual or imprint style haunting, probably, though.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
The history and mystery of the King's Tavern doesn't stop there. In the 1930s, the skeletal remains of 2 men and 1 woman were found hidden in the wall behind the fireplace, bricked up along with a jeweled, bloody dagger.
What? Like somebody sealed somebody in there?
Yes.
Okay. Was it the bad guys, or they don't know if it was the Hart brothers?
Nobody truly knows. There's a lot of speculation. The 2 men haven't been identified outright, although this was a common area for a lot of crime to happen because it was so remote. And there were stories told of a lot of ambushes on this part of the trail. While the 2 men have been identified, it is believed the woman could be Madeline, the mistress of the original tavern owner, Richard King.
Mm. So, who would kill the mistress?
Well, in any good romance tryst, who kills the mistress?
The
Did
guy. It's always the
no.
guy's fault.
Well, okay, guy's fault, surely, but no, who in a love triangle where there's an extra
Listen,
woman who
I think
kills
it's the
her?
probably still the guy because the mistress was probably like, I'm gonna tell your wife that this has been going on because you deserve to be with me. And he's like, no, I, you're gonna die instead.
Whoa,
He has like, so
that's
he has
direct.
too much to lose. And so he kills her
I mean,
to
it
keep
could
her
be.
quiet because a woman at that time period, you think she's going to put a skeleton in the wall and close it up?
You don't
I
even have the story yet.
Okay. All right, let's hear the story.
Let's just all calm down for a moment.
I'm like telling your story for you. Okay, go ahead.
According to Natchez locals and journals from that time, Madeline was a beautiful and rather flirtatious young woman hired to work as a waitress by Mr. King. Not long after, they began to have an affair, sneaking off into unoccupied rooms for illicit moments in the dark. Until one day, Mrs. Esther King discovered them and, in a rage, took a jeweled dagger from her husband's personal collection of Spanish treasures and stabbed the young Madeline to death. And in following with the lawless nature of the area, she stuffed Madeline's body into the wall behind the fireplace, along with the bloody dagger, never to be discussed again.
Okay.
So that's the
Is that
story.
the legend or the true forensic files?
There is no forensics on this. And in fact, there's a lot of differing opinions about if this actually went on.
Okay.
Of all the paranormal mischief that goes on, employees believe Madeline is the one responsible for the haunting of King's Tavern. On the upper floors of the tavern, i.e., what used to be the inn, there have been warm spots and indentations that appear on the beds. Isn't that unique?
Yeah,
Not cold spots, but warm spots.
right. That is strange. Okay, continue.
Because in a romantic tryst, you get hot and heavy.
Ew.
Okay, so perhaps Madeline waiting for Mr. King to join her, or other visitors have looked into a mirror or a window pane on the second floor, only to see a woman in an old-fashioned dress staring back at them from over their shoulder.
Mirror
Which is
ghosts are always creepy.
it's your favorite kind of ghost,
I
aside from the
know.
ones that peek around the corners.
I know.
The first mention on record of any female ghost or spirit at the tavern is from a Natchez Democrat article dated Saturday, February 23rd, 1974, in which Thomas Young, who grew up in the tavern, states, "My mother Hilda died when I was 2 years old, and my grandmother has told me many times of the misty figure of the veiled woman in a cloak, with head bowed and hands folded, which stood at the foot of her bed at night after my mother's death."
Oh, that's interesting.
It's worth noting, however, that there's a lot of controversy over who this female spirit could be. Some believe that the legend of Madeline was made up and besmirches the reputation of the Kings and specifically Miss Esther King. Among them are a group called Naps, which I love. Naps, like you
Naps.
take a nap, is the Natchez Area Paranormal Society.
I want to be a part of naps.
I know. I just for the name alone, I would like
Nap.
gear that said naps in all caps on it.
Right. And people would be like, yeah, naps. Okay. If anyone from naps is listening, we would like to collaborate with you on some merch.
So the group NAPS has done extensive research on the property and has not found any written firsthand evidence of the skeletons themselves being found at all, period.
Mm.
However, there is proof that they did find of the dagger being found, including photographic evidence from the family who found it.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, in that evidence, evidence, you would assume that they would have also taken picture of the body, or
You would
would they?
assume, unless
May-
something was trying to be hushed up for some reason.
Or they were thinking that was disrespectful or something.
Yeah, potentially. It's worth noting that the man who I took the quote from, Thomas Young, and his family actually think that there were skeletons.
Okay.
So, but they're not the only family that lived there, and they're not the family that lived there the longest either. So, going back to Naps, they found through their own encounters that there is a female entity who haunts the property. They do not believe it's Madeline. They believe it's someone belonging to this other family that lived there longer. And that family, I'm sure, say this name wrong, is called the Postlethwaite family,
Okay.
who resided in the building after the Kings sold the tavern and it was turned into a residence. And that family lived in the home for 147 years.
Wow. Impressive. Think
So they
about how many
likely
generations that is.
think of also all the memories and all the things that happened there, and the fact that they would have developed a much stronger connection than like just your common tavern patrons who were there, or even the Hart brothers. So in
Wow.
the early 2000s, a photograph was taken in the upstairs bathroom by a patron of the tavern, which looked really similar to Elizabeth Postwaite, Postlethwaite. Sorry, that's such a bad name. I
People
don't know
are
how to
gonna
say it.
people are gonna write in, it's this, or it's Natchez, or Natchez.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm bad at these
We're
names.
trying. We're trying. Okay.
Okay, so the point was it looked like this Elizabeth woman who was from that family who died in the home in
From now
1860.
on, that last name is just woman or man.
On December 22nd, Naps officially had an investigation into the King's Tavern that was closed. And they found this is a quote now from their findings. Are you ready? This is really interesting.
Okay. I am tuned in.
So they found positive Class B significant paranormal activity present, with reservations about some experiences claimed being possibly due to high EMF and some likely due to matrixing and pareidolia from the high expectations created by advertising of the haunting. However, none of that is sufficient in our minds to explain all that is happening, and our own investigation revealed plenty of data and evidence on its own, including tactile, olfactory, Class A EVP, photo and video, as well as EMF and motion temperature detection data, many of it cross substantiated.
Holy moly, Laura, we have to get way more technical when we investigate.
So everybody who's just listened to that is like, what even is that? So all that they're saying in that is that there's a lot of this legend that's built up around this place. And it kind of psychs you out when you go into it thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to talk to Madeline. And there are these evil Hart brothers there. And I'm so freaked out by this activity that supposedly happened. But then
Mhm.
when they tried to set that aside, activity also happened to them that they couldn't explain, including voices on an EVP recorder. They captured photo and video evidence and EMF readings.
But also, I just want to give a round of applause for NAPS because they have done their investigative duty to actually categorize the strength of EBPs and evidence they find.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's pretty cool to be that level of investigating where you can actually give your investigations a rating.
Like class B. Yeah, I like that
Right.
too.
I mean, we have the boo scale, right? So we're pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, but you know.
So anyway, that's pretty cool.
So now, when you compare that to another group that many people know, Ghost Adventures, who also went in and investigated in 2013. And if you want to look this up, anybody, it's season 8, episode 17. Their investigation, they do not have any of that kind of language or anything going on. And a lot of what they found, I think, is a little bit suspicious. They did get a voice on the spirit box asking for help and saying the name Madeline. But then a few of the guys started having feelings of being sick, their heart racing, feeling tired. And then they claimed that they had periods of time that went missing as they wandered around this property and investigated and were acting
They
kind of
they
strange.
said they
Yeah.
said they had period of times go
Mm-hmm.
missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
They claim that it's an attachment situation, that they felt like they were being affected by spirits there in a negative capacity and losing track of time and sort of being I don't know, possessed in a way. And I just don't really like that they jump to that conclusion versus maybe there's an EMF fear box or something.
Also, when you're doing an investigation, I think personal experiences can definitely be evidence or be taken into account. But if you're trying to scientifically investigate something, I think something so subjective can be preliminary to your
Mm-hmm.
investigation. Like you need some kind of like, here's
Evidence to
our
back it up.
EVPs,
Mm-hmm.
here's how the EMF detector responded, here's ABCD.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the other thing I didn't really like about their investigation is they caught a lot of what they thought were orbs that were really just, in my book, light anomalies from dust or bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really feel like they captured very much in the way of evidence. But because that NAP synopsis was so good, I really do feel like it's a haunted location regardless. But that
Mm-hmm.
just shows you this heavy contrast between somewhere like Naps and then Ghost Adventures as a TV
Mm-hmm.
show about the paranormal, which was interesting to me.
Right. But that's exactly what is it is a TV show and they probably do care about the paranormal, but it's also supposed to be dramatized.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Since its sale by Richard King in 1817, the building has been many things, from a private residence, as we already talked about, to more recently a restaurant and bar. However, that restaurant and bar actually closed in 2020. Sad.
mm,
Yet the building remains, perhaps awaiting its next life and harboring the spirits of those from the past, one of many sites in the intriguing and haunting Natchez. Even today, Natchez is not easily accessible and lies off the beaten path, shrouded in mystery and the unknown. Samuel Clemens, the writer of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, once said of Natchez, "The town of Natchez is beautifully situated on one of those high spots. The contrast that its bright green hill forms with the dismal line of black forest that stretches on every side, the abundant growth of the pawpaw, palmetto, and orange, the copious variety of sweet-scented flowers that flourish there, all make it appear like an oasis in the desert." And so
hmm.
maybe this beautiful oasis of the Southwest is what draws so many spirits to stick around even today.
I love that. Beautiful writing, Mr. Clemens.
Good job, Clemens. So, Autumn, what's your boo rating of King's Tavern?
That's tough because just wrapping up, I feel like it is a lot of legend, obvious though still haunted. I'm gonna go with a 2. I feel like the presence of potential serial killers ramps it up a bit, but given that I don't feel like any of the evidence or hauntings has been particularly threatening,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe that is just in people's mind as like, oh, this happened here and this is very real, but it doesn't mean that's still the case. Yeah, so a
Yeah, that's
2.
fair. I kind of see it as a sort of Savannah, Georgia-esque city for its hauntings and things.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of the things that make me stray even toward a 3 for this would be the sheer amount of stories and people out there who have had experiences that lean into more of those legend things and the darker side and the Hart brothers and all of that.
Yeah.
I do feel like if there is a darker presence there who pulls women's hair and pushes people down the stairs and things of that nature, that it would be more toward that 3. But I think it's one of those that's just really hard to tell how much is
To determine.
legend and how
Right.
much is real.
Right. So we should go there and investigate for ourselves.
Yeah. Also, side note, we talk a lot about elemental type hauntings and things
Yeah.
that are older in the land. And since I mentioned before how Natchez is haunted in and of itself and seems to have a lot of locations that are haunted, I did find that just outside of the city is what's called Emerald Mound. And it's the second largest Indian mound, burial mound in the United States.
Wow. That's something.
I
Great
just thought that
work.
that was interesting and a different angle to look at it too, because there might be a lot more hauntings to unlock in that little city.
That's awesome. Yeah, that might be something to keep on the short list. And by short, I mean my really long list of ghosts I want to investigate.
Including the haunted mansion, the Disneyland
Right.
haunted mansion.
It might be just somewhere we road trip to. That's close enough we could road trip to it and hit a bunch of places. So
True. All right, Autumn, it's your turn to go.
you just sounded like kind of like a mom. Like, okay, you're next. Da-da-da. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom Laura, for that
Okay,
introduction.
Autumn, time for you to go. Come on, put on your shoes.
All right. We begin in 1826 with a man named William Morgan, who was a bricklayer from Virginia. He moved to New York and wanted to join the local Masonic Lodge. He says he was a longtime Mason, and his knowledge of their in depth secret rituals seemed to confirm this. However, his application was denied. In a fury, William threatened to expose a tell all book that would expose the Freemasons and their secret. He recruited a local printer, David Miller, to his cause. However, before his manuscript was printed, David's printing press mysteriously burned down, and poor William was arrested for overdue bills. His
Mm.
friend, David, then tried to pay his bail, only for him to be arrested once again on the same charge. This time, David had no more money left to help after his printing press burnt down, and he had already paid once for his bail. However, one fortunate day, a mysterious stranger showed up and paid William's bail and arranged to have a carriage pick him up outside the prison. The carriage was headed to Canada to help him get far from trouble, but the carriage made an unexpected stop to pick up more passengers. It is here that the story insists that a group of Freemasons bound him. They all got on a boat and headed to Canada. The group and the boat made it safely across Lake Ontario, but William never made it to the other side.
Listen, this was a conspiracy from the beginning. The whole paid his bail, they did
Uh-huh.
that to get him out of there so that they could kill him.
Kill him. Exactly. They had tossed him overboard, attached to a large rock, and William died right offshore of where Marjim Manor Winery stands today. And that is where we're going. Dun dun dun. Enter Shubal Scudder Merritt, who bought the land, built a log cabin for his family while he was working on building his dream home. It seems, side note, that we do a lot of stories where people build their dream homes
Mm-hmm.
and then they're haunted. Is that like a theme of the season? I feel like we've had several.
Moral is don't build your dream home
Or you'll haunt it.
or it'll be
Okay.
haunted for sure.
Or it is your dream home and that's why you stay. You choose to stay. I don't know how it works, but right? You can't
I
give up
mean, yeah.
your dream home. Okay, picture it. Apple blossom streets, the thunderous Niagara Falls is right down the street. A calm landscape in the sleepy town of Appleton on the edge of Lake Ontario. Schubel builds a house to match this picturesque landscape. The manor is instantly eye-catching with its symmetrical design, tall, narrow windows framed by shutters, and a broad front porch that invites you to linger. Its brick exterior is softened by the sweeping views of the lake and the surrounding vineyards, giving it both stateliness and warmth. Inside, you'll find high ceilings, arched doorways, and a grand wooden staircase that curves gracefully upward. The rooms are filled with natural light, from oversized windows offering sweeping views of the water and countryside. Elegant wood trim, polished floors, and period details remind you of its long history as a warm family home.
Mm.
We're going to go through a little bit of a family tree. So Schubel lived on the property with his wife Sophia, his son Louis, and his two daughters Cordelia Marie and Phoebe Sophia.
Wow, those are some names.
In March 1864, Sophia, the wife, suddenly passed away, and his wealth began to steadily decline. And this is said to be the beginning of the curse of Marjim Manor, which, side note, was originally named Appleton Manor. The next year, Schubel and Lewis returned from a hunting trip. Lewis went upstairs, and Schubel remained in the parlor, cleaning their guns. Lewis opens a letter that was received while he was away on the trip, and the letter informs him that his college tuition had raised to $12 a semester. Do you want to
Oh
guess?
man.
Do you want to guess
That's
what
so
that is?
expensive.
Yeah, in today's money.
Um,
It is 1865, a year after his mom's death, and it's $12.
let's go with 10 grand.
$238.
Oh my gosh, that's so little.
I know. I was like, what? If college was that cheap today, $238, everyone would be able to go. It's so much money to go off to college, and I am not going to go off on a rant about how
Mhm.
unfair that is, but
But it's unfair. That's enough
it's
said.
unfair.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lewis was shocked. He ran downstairs and burst through the French doors of the parlor to tell his father. This sudden appearance shook Schubel, and he accidentally set off the gun he was cleaning, shooting and killing Lewis on the spot.
Oh no.
It was a Thursday at 3 p.m. Schubel was distraught, obviously, and he had the parlor doors sealed, like permanently, like no one could go in, no one could come out. That was just sealed. He wanted to shield his memory from that tragic day. He lived in guilt in the home for several more decades until he also passed away. His death was marked on a Thursday at 3 p.m.
Ooh, weird.
Phoebe Sophia moved into the manor with her husband and daughter after she paid her sister's share of the farm. So she's living there. They live blissfully in the home for years until one day the parlor doors that had remained sealed flew open and Phoebe gasps and she falls on the floor dead. And it was 3 in the afternoon on a Thursday.
What? What is this weirdness?
So Phoebe's husband and daughter move out and sell the property to a man by the name of John Morley. While he died on a Tuesday, his body was not found until the following Thursday at 3 p.m.
No, that's not even possible.
The property was then sold to a Dr. Charles Ring, who moved into the home with his wife Hannah. They became very successful peach farmers. They had moved from Buffalo and wanted a quiet life, but eventually Hannah died in the home after about 12 years. Dr. Ring remained in the home, oddly enough, rewrote his will to a woman named Estelle Morse as the recipient of his inheritance. Depending on the article or obituary you read, she was either his new fiance, his assistant, or his cousin.
Those
And
are very different.
I actually wrote in the margin, or maybe all three.
Oh gosh.
So he changes his will. It's the next month. The servants in the house hear a large bang. They rush upstairs and they find Dr. Ring at his desk dead. They ruled the death was because of a heart disease, and the house was then given to this woman, Estelle.
That doesn't seem suspicious at all.
Yeah, right? So Estelle, eventually it gets sold to the Sisters of St. Joseph to be used as a summer retreat and a summer camp for deaf girls. The sisters have a dog named Luke who is so friendly.
Oh no. Oh
and
no. Here it
so
comes.
He was doted upon by all the girls. Everyone loved him. And one day, Luke was in the parlor and he was curled up by the fireplace. And he abruptly shoots up and runs over to the French doors. And he barks 3 times. He returns to the fireplace, curls up, and he ends up passing away as he slept. And it was a 3 p.m. on a Thursday.
What is wrong with this house? Also, at what point is it not like more a moral responsibility for people to inform the next residents, hey, maybe don't hang out here on a Thursday at 3 p.m.
Okay, so we're going to jump in to our ghost hunter friends' minds and debunk this a little bit because the legend and the story I just told you is a good one, but I kind of want you to dump all of that out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Bec-
Okay.
so, for instance, the Freemason story I told you at the very beginning is all real up until the part of his death. He disappeared. No one actually knows, though, for sure what happened to William. It could very well be the story I told you, but the printer house did burn down. He was rejected from the Masons. A mysterious person did do his bail, and there's no record of his death.
But he
So
might have
we
lived
don't
happily
know.
ever after.
Possibly. Sophia, the wife, did die in the house of tuberculosis, and her son did die the following year. However, he died of tuberculosis as well, not a gunshot by his father. Thank goodness, because think of that grief.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 graves for Lewis Merritt in Appleton, and neither of the dates listed on either of these gravestones are a Thursday. In
Well, that's
fact,
not surprising.
if you dig a little deeper, none of the deaths apparently actually occurred on a Thursday.
They all occurred on a Friday. Just kidding.
However, Dr. Ring's death remains particularly weird as he did die for, quote, heart disease, but 1 month after he made that large inheritance change to his will. Tragically, there is a dog who did die in the house under the care of Sisters of St. Joseph. However, his name was not Luke, it was Duke, and there's no way of knowing actually if he died on a Thursday. So, how did these rumors start? With actual ghost stories, of course. But most of these legends go back to Estelle Morse. Remember the assistant cousin lady?
Mm-hmm.
She reported many of the odd deaths misleadingly in an article in the New York World magazine when she owned the manor.
So she was like, oh, this guy, my uncle slash benefactor guy, his death was super suspicious. I gotta like take some of the spotlight off of myself and tell
Maybe,
these haunted stories.
but some people think she was just a super savvy businesswoman and she wanted to ramp up interest
Mm-hmm.
in the manor and the farm and kind of made these legends that did end in death into something more spectacular.
Well, did it drum up business? Did she then sell it for millions?
No, not
Oh.
particularly, but it might have drummed up business. We're going to talk about Marjim Winery and its resident spirits, but you really have to start with the lady of the house herself, Estelle Morse, who started all of the legend in the first place. So we fast forward decades later to present day. Estelle has long since passed. The house has changed hands several times, but the article about her and the manor in New York World Magazine still hangs proudly on the wall in the winery. One year on Estelle's birthday, the bartender owner, she poured a glass of sweet red wine in her honor, in Estelle's honor, and joked, "A sweet red wine for a lady that may have not been so sweet." And just then, the framed article shot off the wall and shattered on the floor. So,
Yeah, it's never a good idea to insult spirits or people who may or may not be around.
right, or don't sass a businesswoman, you know.
Or she'll curse your business. Yeah, probably.
She'll balance those books from the grave. So the front porch is another place you'll want to mind your manners. Guests often feel like a stealth is still standing there, sizing them up before they even cross the threshold. But she's not the only porch critic. Visitors also report hearing a cranky older gentleman upstairs audibly grumbling about the porch. Most agree this is Shubal Merritt, the original owner. The front porch is part of that original dream house build.
Mhm.
Imagine spending eternity muttering about home improvement projects. Or like,
That
oh,
seems
that
like
porch.
something that's cute though, like a grumpy old man ghost.
Oh, that porch of mine. Oh, what have they done to that porch? Then I was thinking about HGTV and that they should do like a house hunters, but for ghost lovers. Like, which one of these haunted houses do you want to
Oh, that would
buy?
be epic.
I know. And I'm like, who can I pitch this idea to? Because it would be so cool. I feel like everyone would watch it. And now that I've put it out there in the universe, watch in a month, it becomes
A
a,
reality.
a thing. Yeah.
How big of a market do you think that there really is? How many people listening, by a show of hands, would live electively in a haunted house? Okay, I see
A
some of you with your hands
third,
up. I
a quarter. Well,
think it might be less.
you'll have people that don't believe in ghosts. So they're like,
Hmm.
whatever property is best, I'm going to buy. You're going to have people that want to live in a haunted house because it's haunted, because it's cool.
Hmm.
And so I feel like there's like some crossover there. Whereas then you just have the people that are just scared of it and want to avoid it at all costs. I don't know. Good question. Maybe a poll. Okay. In the same room upstairs, guests report having seen the ghostly figure of a lady gazing from the room's window. Some have claimed to have heard faint echoes of a woman's voice as well. So once inside, the real hot spot is the front stairs next to the notorious parlor room French doors. So it's curious that that story of the gunshot and him dying right there
Hmm.
is legend because the hotspot is actually at those doors. So it's possible that even though he didn't die of a gunshot, maybe some other people from tuberculosis or whatever it might have been did die in that general area or in that general space, possibly in the parlor
Or,
itself.
or it could be one of those egregore style hauntings where because the legend was told and so many people believed it and are thinking he died right there at this time on this day, that it became more of a reality in that spot.
Maybe. I'm going to read you some evidence. So, during an investigation by the ghost hunters, they investigated this property. It's season 4, episode 20. They hear a disembodied voice say, "Who's in my house?" A male voice. And this was without equipment or reviewing EVPs or anything. They
Ooh.
they stopped. They heard it. It was loud enough for them to be like, "Stop," and say, "Did you hear that?" And they heard it say that, "Who's in my house?" On another occasion, a young man in Victorian dress had been spotted lingering in that same spot at the end, at the bottom of the stairs. So could this be Lewis? I don't know. Like maybe Estelle started that rumor because she herself had experienced similar things. Chicken and the egg situation.
Maybe,
Hmm.
except it not a chicken and an egg, more like a ghost and a businesswoman.
No, it would be like, is it the ghost that created the legend or the legend that created the ghost?
Okay. So instead of chicken and the egg, it's ghost and legend.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
that
sounds
makes
like a
sense.
great kids book.
The ghost and the legend.
Yeah. Okay. On February 28th, 2010, Buffalo paranormal investigators did a ghost hunting class. The goal was to familiarize people with the equipment and methods. The date was specifically picked because it is the day that Dr. Charles Ring died in the house on February 28th, 1908. As part of that afternoon adventures, an EVP detector was placed in the doorway of the parlor room. Just before 3 p.m., the EVP detector showed a reaction. And so when the recording was played back, there's a man's voice that asks, "What? What?" Like he's trying to understand what is being happening or what is being said.
Hmm.
Not all activity is so dramatic. Sometimes it's just a little odd. Take the case of the winter caretakers. While making their rounds, they heard an alarm clock blaring upstairs. So there's no one in the house during the winter, and they're just walking around every so often making sure a pipe doesn't burst. Upon entering the house, an alarm clock is like, right? So annoying. So annoyed, they run upstairs to unplug it or reset it. And here's the problem, it was already unplugged and still ringing. One bride who got married at Marjim Manor shares their story on the website. This is her story. It was November 25th, 2006, a beautiful autumn day. Our wedding day had finally arrived. The guests were all seated. Time for Sarah to sing. Cue the music. The CD player won't work. Try and try again. It just wouldn't work. It was working earlier with no problems. Oh well, cue Sarah to sing without the music. It was beautiful and the ceremony continues. Then they hear a bang, and we all directed our attention to the wall behind us, where a plaque fell off the wall and onto the table below. Once the ceremony was finished, the best man went to the wall to check out the hanger and to replace the plaque. The plaque had to have had been lifted up and off the hanger to have fallen.
Those are some of the weirdest pieces of paranormal evidence that I've seen caught on camera are when things lift like that, where it clearly can't just be the wind or
Mhm.
like gravity having taken something down. Like the clown hotel story that you brought up with the clown foot moving, I think it was.
It was the hand,
The
like,
hand
falling
moving
off the
off
ladder,
the,
yeah.
yeah, that could be a gravity thing and just being there at the right time. But when something like that moves, where the nail is, it wouldn't let it fall unless it was picked up, those just get to me.
Right, and also that there was an electronic drained right before that had happened
Mm-hmm.
is also interesting. The manor's dark
Coincidence? I don't know.
I don't know either, but pretty good evidence. The manor's darkest hauntings, however, are tied to its role in the Underground Railroad. Though it provided refuge, the reality for those fleeing slavery was often days of hiding in cramped, airless spaces. Visitors say the property still holds that residual grief, waves of sadness that can overwhelm without warning. Some have even reported being pinched, poked, or shoved as if the walls themselves still remember the fear and desperation of those who once saw safety within them. You fast forward to today, and the manor has traded in candlelight for Cabernet, now serving as an enchanting vineyard and winery that still embodies its historic and ghostly charm. Many of their wines are named after the people who have lived in the home. They also have a wine called Thursday at 3 o'clock,
Ah, don't drink that one.
as well as a sticker that says, "You survived Thursday at 3 o'clock." I think it's cute that they kind of embody the legend. Like
Yeah.
they themselves have been interviewed and say, yeah, these are legend, but
Mm-hmm.
they are proud of those cute
Yeah, they just
things.
embraced it and rolled with it.
Right. So people come from all over at 3 o'clock on Thursday just to see what happens. They do a wine tasting and ghost story pairing, as well as allow people to investigate the property, and they allow you to like borrow equipment if you don't have your own and walk
So,
around.
is there a certain type of wine that pairs well with ghost investigations?
Probably all wine. My
Oh,
new
okay.
my new dream is to now have a haunted winery because it's two of my favorite things put together.
So you
Wine
probably
and
have to
ghosts.
pick a location that's haunted and turn it into the winery. I don't think you're going to get it
Yeah,
haunted
haunted,
winery that's already
right.
made.
But ironically, a lot of the wineries are old and historic, at least
Hmm.
here, in Virginia or on the East Coast. So I don't feel like that would be hard to do. Cool side note, since the early 20th century, since Estelle, the manor has remained in the hands of female proprietors. So generations of women have ruled these haunted halls, which adds like a very empowering layer to an already cool legacy.
Yeah, that is cool.
Girl power.
Woohoo.
So that is my boozy ghost story. It's interesting to me as you were telling yours, and a lot of it could be legend. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, mine too.
We always have weird connections like that, it seems.
It's like we're like synced up. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was fun. But they have legend and these stories with them, but also evidence that actually something does exist there.
Yeah, it's just that people don't know for sure what it is. So you have all
Correct.
these
Yeah,
stories. Well, part of it could be true.
right. So, Laura, what is your boo rating?
I think if the Thursday thing had been true, which I really don't think it is, it would get a higher rating from me.
Yeah, because that would be creepy.
But I feel like maybe a one.
I feel like it's probably a one too. I feel like the ghosts there are just family and friends that are still maybe roaming
Yeah.
around and love the property. And I think they're just there enjoying it.
For me, it's the grumpy old man ghost. Like that just is hilariously fun to me. I love that. I just want a grumpy old man ghost now. I don't know, to haunt my house, like
Oh gosh,
grumble about things.
yeah, be careful what you wish for.
But yeah, I think a one makes sense. Again, if the Thursday thing were true, it would make a difference. The only real threat I felt from your stories was really the plaque falling and then the article falling on a different occasion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that could just be a, hey, I'm here, pay
Well,
attention.
or the
Like,
Underground Railroad because people
yeah,
were poked and pinched and
true.
stuff in there. But there's nothing menacing. It's
Mm-hmm.
more like I'm trying to get your attention or be part
Yeah,
of the party.
yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I do have another question though for you.
Sure.
Is you told me the wines were named after people that live there. My question is, did they have one named after Duke?
They do have one named after the dog.
Yay! Okay.
Yeah.
Bonus points.
Yeah, they have one for the puppy. And on our show page, I found a picture of Duke. So I'm going to post it
That's amazing.
on our note page. He's so cute.
In
I
my
think,
mind, he lived a
yeah,
long, happy life and he just passed away in his sleep peacefully like any old dog would.
and he could. That's exactly what could have happened. Who knows, right? We don't know
Hmm.
his age or great. Next time you'll hear from us will be Halloween. Woo-hoo!
Well, technically, it will
Halloween.
be the day before Halloween, but you could save our episode for Halloween if you really want to.
Yeah, it's gonna be, we love Halloween. It's our very favorite. And Laura and I this year get to celebrate it together, which hardly ever happens.
Yay!
So it's gonna be fun.
I'm sure we'll
Well,
have pictures to share.
yeah, we'll post them. All right. Well,
Thank you for listening. And as always, happy
happy
haunting.
haunting.